All right. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. So the other day I put out a question on Instagram to all my followers and asked them what type of video they were interested in seeing. And it actually got a few repeats, and so I figured, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do that video today. And what this video is going to be about is a little bit about how did I get started, how I took this from a hobby to a business, and then there was a couple of questions that were asked about all of the things when it comes to painting furniture and making it a successful business. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to address too is I've been asked several times, do I have any formal background in design, or did I go to school and have an art degree or anything like that? And the answer is no. Let me tell you, I used to think I was like the least creative person ever. And I think the thing is, we all are creative in our own ways. Now, I will tell you, I cannot draw a stick figure to save my life, but I can paint like nobody's business. So I've always enjoyed painting. Way back when, I loved always changing up the colors in my home and trying new wall paint colors and things like that. I no longer do that because another thing about me, a few years back, I was painting my house, fell off a ladder, shattered my heel, major thing. I've had 3 surgeries and it really changed my life. And I figured, yeah, well, I'm not gonna paint on ladders anymore. So now I stick to the floor and I paint furniture. So a total side note, but no, I don't have any formal training. I taught myself, I learned from others. I asked 1,000 questions the way I get asked all the time. That's why I think I like sharing information with you guys. Yes, I do this for a living. Yes, I teach, and that is how I make my living as well. But I do enjoy sharing the information because I just don't see a reason why you wouldn't. Why make it harder for people if it's like a simple question that I know I have the knowledge to answer, I will answer it. Anything more than that, 5, 6, 7 questions, okay, now we need to start looking at doing a coaching or teaching session so that would be beneficial more to both of us. But anyway, I've always had an eye for color. I love interior design, and I think sometimes you just have it or you don't. Some people just have it or they don't. Like, I do not have the ability to draw, but like I said, can paint, and I can see, and I have a vision of how I want something to turn out, and staging, I love doing that. So I have no formal training in that. It's just something that I've taken as a hobby and turned it into my business. I picked up a paintbrush and put it to anything other than a wall was my own kitchen cabinetry. I had been wanting to do it for quite a while. It's a builder grade 90s oak, and I just was over the look. So I really wanted to start a kitchen remodel and start with painting the cabinetry. So after much research on Pinterest and the convincing of my husband to say, I will do the whole job, you don't need to lift a finger, let's do it. We went ahead and did it. I started with Annie Sloan chalk paint because when I was starting out, I had no idea about any other paints. And when I Googled chalk paint, of course, that's the first one that came up. Anyway, fast forward, that project is done. It was life-changing because I had no idea how much work it was. I have a very large kitchen. I will snapshot a picture of it for you just to show you guys here. But that was 6 years ago that I did that. It was before I even had lifted a finger to painting furniture, as I mentioned, so I had no idea what I was doing. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and just did my research. The project came out great. I couldn't be happier with it. It's 6 years later. I have 3 well, not so much teenagers anymore, but young men who were always in the kitchen. Cabinets have held up beautifully, so it convinced me after that project that I wanted to do more. So furniture was the next thing I figured I could move on to. Found a piece of furniture on Craigslist that was unfinished. It was an old antique. Purchased it for $40. Repainted it in an Annie Sloan 2-tone color with some waxing. I was so proud of that piece. Put it up for sale on Craigslist, sold it like that first weekend. Okay, one thing is I sold it way too cheap. The value of the piece alone, because it was an antique, I'm sure should have been way more, but that's okay. You live and learn. It was my very first piece. I was super excited. and it sold the first weekend. I was hooked after that. So after that, I just started diving in. The internet is a wonderful, beautiful thing because I was able to go ahead and just research a lot of different paints, and that's when I started trying different paints and looks and painting anything I could find. Okay, so that was the beginning. I have worked full-time for 18 years in the same career. I was self-employed real estate appraiser, if you guys didn't know. And so not a very creative job, but I did this hobby on the side. I loved it so much and kept envisioning that I wanted this to be what I did full-time, not my appraiser job, which, don't get me wrong, it's been a wonderful career. I am since retired. I do not work anymore as an appraiser, but it was a wonderful career while I was raising my son to give me flexibility and have a great career. So I started doing more and more furniture, painting everything, like I said, that I could find. Okay, that was number one mistake, okay? And I don't really want to say it was a mistake, but it was a learning lesson. Nowadays, would I buy anything? Absolutely not. Now I concentrate on only buying quality pieces. So tip number one, when you're going to get into doing this, whether it's a hobby or you're trying to turn this into a full-time business, focus on quality. Quality products, quality pieces. Because you will have a better time selling your furniture if you're selling solid wood pieces versus laminate, formica, veneers, things that are just not that great of quality. So I kind of dumped that whole philosophy of I wanted to paint anything. It was great for learning, okay? It was great for using pieces that weren't very high priced, they were low quality, so it was easy for me to go ahead and experiment on them. But going forward, if I wanted to make any kind of money at this, I knew I had to focus on quality. So that is my number one tip. Buy quality pieces. You may pay a little more for them, but you can charge a little more for them because they're quality pieces. So there's that. Tip number two, experiment with different products. Focus on finding what works for you. What works for me may not work for you, but I will tell you that without trying different products, you're never gonna know. That's one of the reasons I developed doing so many review videos and just sharing knowledge about certain products I've used with you guys, because that is one way to learn. Take whatever somebody else has learned and try it yourself. Now, just because I've used a product, it doesn't mean you're gonna use it and love it the same way. But until you try, you won't know. So try different products. See what works for you. See what you like. See what lines carry the colors that you like, or how easy their products are to work with, or their dry times. All of those things are to be considered. So what do I use today? That's what I get asked a lot of. What are my go-to products? Well, for paint, shortly after Annie Sloan, I started to try General Finishes, their milk paint line. They used to make a chalk paint line. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but the milk paint line was great. So I believe that was probably my second paint product I'd ever tried. Still use it today, still my number one. I actually started using their Enduro Poly line, which is a spray-only product, but it is phenomenal. I still use their milk paint today, and I use a lot of their Enduro Poly. Their top coat is the only top coat I will use. It's just a personal preference. It sprays beautifully on everything from painted furniture to stained furniture. So that is my go-to. Other paint lines that I still like, as far as will I use them today, the Chippy Barn, Wise Owl Paint 1 Hour Enamel. They also make a chalk paint, but I'm a bigger fan of their 1 Hour Enamel. Fusion, I do still use Fusion. I went through a period where I used Fusion a lot, and then I kind of drew back and stopped using it as much. One reason is my retailer went out of business, and it just was not easy anymore, but I can still order it. I just kind of think I start to gravitate towards what works for me. I always recommend General Finishes to people because it is an easy paint if you haven't had a lot of experience with it. It's self-leveling, it's a really nice consistency. doesn't have a tendency to have issues with brush strokes. And I know I've had comments before where people say, well, that's an operator error. And you know, sometimes it's not. There are some products and some tools that just don't work well together. Brush strokes are not always the operator error or the user's fault. So that brings me to tip number 3, which are your brushes. Invest in good brushes. Now, when I first started, I didn't invest in $35, $45 brushes, but there are still good brushes you can find at the hardware store. Wooster and Purdy are 2 good brush brands, and they have pro lines. They're synthetic brushes, which for painting is going to be your best bet. They won't shed in your paint. They are easy to clean up with. So if you're not ready to dive in and go, you know, making the $35 a brush investment, that's okay. Start with those brushes. Since then, I had gravitated towards Klingon is my most favorite brush. As you can see, I have them right here behind me. And then Stahlmeister is another brush that I also have those there that I use. I get asked all the time, well, if you spray all the time, why do you need brushes? Well, because you still need brushes. I do spray, to answer your question, I do spray the majority of my pieces. However, I do a lot of finishes that you cannot do with a spray gun. So a lot of blending projects, they all have to be done with brushes. So I still use brushes on a daily basis. Doing trim has to be done with brushes. Sometimes you just can't get certain areas of a piece with a sprayer. So good tools, that's key. How to start to take this from a hobby to a business? Where did I start selling my pieces? Anywhere I could. I didn't have a website when I first started. I didn't have clients for custom work when I first started. So when I started, it was buy a piece, paint it, sell a piece. Repeat the process. I listed on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook local groups. At the time, Let Go, I understand now, I don't use it anymore, but Let Go and OfferUp are one and the same. So you list on those places. Just know that some of those places, people will want to negotiate. So if you're not negotiable on your price, just put that in your ad. Let people know. You put your hard work and your time and effort into the piece. It is well worth, most likely, what you're asking for. Which leads me to the next thing. How do I know what to price my pieces at? Pricing your pieces can be so challenging. Another thing I get asked about all the time. Couple things to consider. First of all, the quality of your piece, okay, that's gonna make a big difference. So if you have, let's just say, a Dixie brand dresser, it's solid wood, it's, you know, like a solid cherry or maple, that's a good quality. Dovetail drawers, that's a good indication of a quality piece. So you can command more for your price as you're selling a good quality, solid piece of wood furniture. The other thing is survey your market. What do people sell things for? What are things going for unfinished versus finished pieces? If you're new to this, maybe go on the lower end of that price point because you don't have that experience yet. You're not really confident in your abilities yet. So you know what? Maybe start out at a lower price point. That's okay. We all have to start somewhere. Okay, so pricing your pieces, the best thing I can tell you is do some research in your area. Where I live, my market might be completely different where you live. My town is a lot bigger than yours, let's say, so I can command a higher price because I've got more people that are going to be shopping. But if you live in a town of 500, well, you can't be at the top price point and expect with a very small market to be selling your pieces. So you kind of have to adjust based on where you're at, okay? All right. Good tools, lots of tools. When you start this whole process, you will realize there are a lot of things you might need. You don't have to go out and get everything at once, but it is nice and handy to have a lot of things that you might need. Some staples, paintbrushes, sandpaper, sanding blocks, rags. I mean, there's so many different things. So what I would do is before you decide to, nope, I don't like this clip at all, so we're gonna pass by that. Okay, tools. So tools don't just mean paintbrushes, obviously. Tools. You're gonna refinish furniture, you need things. When I first started out, I didn't have a lot of my own things. I was borrowing a lot of my husband's things. And eventually I built my tool arsenal and I have everything I need right here and I don't have to borrow anything. So there's certain things that you're gonna need. You're probably gonna need a sander. You'll need finishing sandpapers, rags, paint brushes, stir sticks. I mean, there's so many things. The list goes on and on. I actually have a video on here that I did. It's kind of like a starter kit to kind of tell you what do you need when you're starting this refinishing furniture adventure. So go check that one out. It might be helpful for you. When you are listing your pieces, is staging important? Oh my gosh, so much so. Now, does that mean you need to have a staging area like I have a staging area? No, it doesn't. But there are financially feasible ways to create a beautiful staging area. When I first started, right here behind me, I would hang a sheet, like a solid sheet, and I was photoing my pieces with decor items from inside my house. I didn't have staging items. I didn't have a staging area, but it looked better than just putting it in my garage with all this randomness going on behind me. Look, people, when they're looking for things, sometimes cannot see if you're not presenting it to them in a certain way. They have to be able to envision the piece in their home. So by staging that piece and making it look more appealing to them, it's giving them a way to see the piece in their home, and they need to have it. So there's things. When I first started, after the sheet, I went to Amazon and I purchased a photo backdrop. You could clip it up and good to go. I did that for a long time. So these are things that you can do that are, economically friendly to you. You don't have to put out a ton of money, and it will help you make your piece look nice. Raid your house, go inside and get some staging items to go ahead and make that piece look like it would look as if it were in your bedroom. So staging helps incredibly. You have no idea how many times people think I'm a store because of my staging area. Guess what? That's what I want them to think. I want them to see professional. I want them to think I am a brick and mortar and that they're going and dealing with somebody who isn't just doing this as a hobby. I'm taking it seriously and making it look professional. I talked about listing your pieces, staging your pieces, selling your pieces, but where do I find my pieces? Okay, get asked that a lot. There's really 3 places I find my pieces now: Craigslist, Facebook, and people find me and ask me if I would like to buy their pieces. Once you get a lot of visibility in your community, people start to see this is what you do and they start reaching out. I also have a little page on my website that lets people know I buy furniture. So I get contacted frequently if I want to buy things. Now, with that being said, I don't buy just anything. Like I told you in the beginning, I did, but I had since learned that not a great thing. I want to only buy quality pieces. So I'm very picky personally. And here's the thing I'm going to tell you. It's okay to say no. It's okay to go view a piece, and if it's not the right piece for you, it's broken, it's not good quality, you can walk away, no obligation. Some people, I've been contacted by a lot of people that say, oh, I feel bad, so I bought this piece. Don't feel bad. You're spending your money. So make sure when you're buying pieces, so Craigslist, Facebook, there are other places, thrift stores, they can be kind of high for pricing. So make sure you watch that. You want to make sure you don't overspend, because part of the whole process is for you to make money at this, right? So the more you spend, the less you're going to make. Yard sales or garage sales, I don't personally go to them, but there can be occasionally a good find. It's just not my thing. I don't have time, and B, I'm just not a huge yard sale fan. So I stay away from estate sales. Those can be good places, but again, they're like thrift stores. They can be high. The key to an estate sale, wait till the end of the estate sale. Sometimes you might, lose what was there on Friday, but on Sunday they're going to reduce their prices. So that's something to keep in mind. Where else? Offer up, let go. I don't use those anymore. I have plenty now, so I just don't need to have that many avenues, but those are great places to find your pieces too. So the next thing people ask me is, how do I get so much custom work? Where did I get my clients? I don't really have like a solid answer for you other than exposure. When I sell a piece, probably every other time I get asked, do you do other people's furniture? Absolutely is my answer, because I want to do more custom work than I do the buying and selling. For me, I enjoy that more. I get to work with people. I get to help them design their pieces. It's a whole different process. I don't have to go out and buy the piece, put the money out, take my truck, load it up, do all the things. So I love doing my custom work. So my clients have just kind of come to me organically. I don't really advertise. A lot of it is word of mouth. The only advertising I do is when I'm listing my other pieces for sale that people see them. I would say now about 90% of my business is customization for clients. Commission work, if you want to call it that, and then the other percentage, the 10%, is buying and selling. So it just depends what direction you want to go with it, but I have a whole system. I have a booking calendar, I have my website, I do a whole quoting process. I mean, everything I do is very business oriented, it's very professionally done. I don't quote over text. It's all done through email where I can view their pictures of their items, the size of their items, so that I know when I'm quoting somebody on commission work that I'm not going to shortchange myself or overcharge them. It's kind of a fine line. If you want more information about that, like I said earlier, my detailed one-on-ones, my coaching sessions, we can go into all of that. I'm just trying to touch on some of the things that I've had in my, experience over the years and give you guys some pointers. So, has it been worth it for me to change my 18-year career, my guaranteed salary, to doing my own business? Absolutely. I love it. You have to remember, for 18 years, I didn't work in a corporate environment. I was self-employed, so I was very used to the fact of kind of being on my own, not having an employer with employer-paid benefits and all of those types of perks. So it wasn't a huge transition for me to go from self-employed to business owner, because I was already kind of used to that lifestyle. There's obviously a little bit of risk in it, but here's the thing I'll tell you. Believe in yourself and you'll have no problem. Believe in your work, no problem. Be confident in your work and it will sell itself. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys today. I just wanted to touch on a couple of these things. Encourage you guys, if you're looking to take this from a hobby to a more serious business, or maybe you want to keep it a hobby and just make some extra money. That's how I started, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you just enjoy being creative and you love painting. Then this is a great, great thing to pick up. So thank you so much for watching today. If you guys have any positive comments or questions, please leave them down below. I love engaging with you guys. I will always answer all of your questions. And like I said, if you want more detailed one-on-one information, I'm gonna link below my lessons so that you guys can go check them out, what their price is, how long they are, and what that whole process is like. I'll catch you on the next video.